Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Karim Serageldin here with Noor. I wanted to share 7 tips to parents when it comes to their communication around religiosity. A lot of parents contact me and they want me to work with their kids to help them become more self-realized or actualized in their practice of religion. Tip number 1, practice what you preach. Sure, we all make mistakes, and I always say humans are mistake-making machines, but we are amazing engines for growth. And when your children see that you are fundamentally contradicting yourself, let's say you're always talking about the prophetic mercy, but you're really aggressive and yell at your kids or break stuff whenever they don't do what you tell them, that's going to be really hard for them to take their deen seriously, or the example of the Prophet ﷺ seriously. Why? Because you're not taking it seriously. So please consider practicing what you preach as much as possible. The second tip is explain why. So many youth tell me, my parents tell me to do all these things, but they never tell us why. Humans are creatures of meaning. We want to know why. It's natural to want to know why. It's natural for us to want to know the deeper meaning behind things and why we do them, especially when it comes to religion. So don't overlook this component, and don't get upset or feel threatened by your children if they ask you questions like, why do I have to wear hijab? Or why do I have to pray? Or why can't I have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Sit down and try to have a discussion with them about those things. And if you yourself don't know how to explain why, well, maybe it is a reminder from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you have a little more growth to achieve as well. Tip number 3. MashaAllah, you know, American Muslim communities in many parts of the country have thriving mosques. Some of them have private Islamic schools. And sometimes parents kind of have this idea of, if we take our kids to the masjid, if we send them to an Islamic school, you know, our job is done. You know, they're getting their religious nurturing. But I think that it's very important for you as a family to have circles where you guys sit together and have kind of like your own halaqah. Review one hadith a day or one hadith every Friday in the evening, and perhaps follow it up with something like ice cream or something sweet, so that you create a beautiful association and fun family time with the religion and your children. This will also help your kids feel more bond to the tradition as well as to their family in a healthy way. So don't just assume that because they go to the mosque or because they go to an Islamic school that now you can punch out and there's no other aspects of nurturing when it comes to the religion that you're responsible for. Tip number 4, don't use religion as a social status booster. Yes, a social status booster. Sometimes youth tell me that their parents compare them to other kids when it comes to religiosity. How come you don't pray 5 times a day like your cousin? How come you don't memorize Quran like your friend? How come you don't go to the masjid every night for Isha prayer like Fulan and Fulan? This is very dangerous, because now the kids are seeing Islam or their practice of religion as a social status booster, which takes away from sincerity and the true value and purpose behind having a relationship with the divine. So be very careful of this. And many Muslim families and communities, we already have so much other forces of competition, from ethnic competition, racial competition, socioeconomic competition. And now we're using religion too, and perhaps it's been used for a while, but you know, just a reminder, please don't go there. It's really, really disgusting. Tip number 5, don't use religion as a way to threaten your children or to implement your personal agenda. So for example, don't tell your kids, if you don't do what I say, you're gonna go to hell. Some kids tell me that their parents say these things, and that is just so horrible and disgusting. Nobody knows where anyone's going to end up when it comes to the hereafter. That's number 1. And number 2, really, how dare you use the religion for your own personal means or your own agenda and your own way of threatening, you know, your children. It's just so disgusting, and it's really dangerous, and it's sick. And it really hurts my heart when you have younger kids say, you know, I really want to pray, but I don't want to pray when my parents tell me if I don't do it that I'm going to go to hell. Or sometimes when my parents tell me, if you don't do what I tell you, even though it doesn't make sense because they don't have an explanation or they don't get the meaning, the parents threaten them and say, if you don't obey me, you're going to go to hell. I mean, this is just really sad because half the time the kids really want to connect with the divine. They want to connect with the tradition. It's in our fitrah, it's in our nature to want these things. And we are the ones that turn them away as authorities in their lives. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us and guide us away from that. Tip number 6, don't use religion merely as content for identity politics. And for many, families that come here, immigrant families, their culture is fused with religious identity. And so when we use religion as a way to identify ourselves, which there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself, but sometimes it becomes too enmeshed in the cultural constructs. And we think that being Afghan or being Indian or being Arab or being this or that is actually the same thing as being this type of Muslim. And it's not always true. So it's very important to be aware of identity politics and the history behind your culture and how religion played a role in that. On this note, also, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran about those who did not want to accept the message of the prophets, one of their cop-outs was, we want to do what our forefathers did. We want to follow the religion of our forefathers. And we don't want to change that. And this principle also applies to Muslims. Many of us inherit traditional values or beliefs. We don't question them. We've never done the real research. We don't even know ayats in the Quran that can back some of these things up. We just practice what our forefathers did. And that also goes back to identity politics. And any time, a child or a young person questions a understanding of their parental religiosity, the parents sometimes feel threatened by this. And it's not because the kids don't want to follow Islam, it's because they're questioning your understanding of Islam. You feel that them questioning you is a direct threat to your identity, and it's not always the same thing. For example, if a daughter says, I'm not going to pray anymore because I don't like how you treat me, then this is an example where the religion is no longer about a relationship to God, but it's about identity politics. It's about getting back at each other. It's about making your parents feel bad or hurt them through the religion. Point number 7, parents, be humble, be sincere, seek knowledge. I get it. You have a lot of experience, and many of you, mashallah, are doing a great job with your children. But always be humble. Your children are more likely to love and respect you if you let them know that not only are you their teacher, but you're always also a student in life yourself. And kids are more likely to respect that and want to connect with you. The whole authoritative, you do what I say and I treat you like a child until you're married, that technique is not working, and it's actually causing a lot of damage out there. Trust me, nobody reaches a point where their knowledge has been perfected and they know everything. I hope these tips were helpful. Forgive me for my shortcomings, and please keep me in your prayers. Thanks for watching. Assalamu alaikum.